Mariana, Alexandra, Sonsoles, and Galia. So the next session is about expressing. Shh. Do I need to do like in school? Shh. Thank you. So the next session is expressing emotions, compassion, and intuition in the work environment is often perceived as a weakness. How do we flip the script? So let's just go into it with the speeches, and then we see how much time we have to just share insights and discuss a little bit. So each one has 12 minutes, and I will just show you 3 minutes when you have just 3 minutes left. So let's just go in order like it is here. So I invite Mariana. Would you like this one or this one?
No. It makes me like... Hi. I dressed nice today, so let me use this opportunity. It was a Saturday morning, and I got up with this strong inner feeling I need to rearrange my office. I knew it was not about the office, but the point of transformation I was in. And I couldn't do it alone, so I asked my husband to help me. To my surprise, he was there for me, the whole journey. Not just rearranging the office, but really holding a space for my emotions, my confusion, and my vulnerability that was pouring out of me. At the end of the renovation, he said, "Well, Mariana, I don't know how much time you will actually spend in this office, but I know you needed this process." For years, I was waiting for this kind of statement and this kind of deeper understanding. And it made me believe even stronger that expressing emotions and accepting emotions and intuition are not only here to be valued, but also used as powerful force to create beautiful things together. Not just rearranging the office, but creating an unforgettable experience of connection and intimacy. But many times this feels so far. Last year, I was invited to a New Year's gathering one company organized for customers and suppliers, and the CEO had an interesting speech about customer care and connections and values, but he ended his speech with this statement: "I need to apologize myself because I've become too emotional during this speech." And yes, many times, 3 times per day, we all come to this frustration when these guys will finally get it. So, how do we flip the script? Well, there is nothing like flipping the script. No magic formula, no 3 steps, neither revolution that is going to happen and change this. We are all in the middle of beautiful human evolution and transformation, and we are all on this journey together. And I need to tell you, I was the one too. The one that didn't get it. I was a strong woman that values goals and results and hard work and determination to achieve whatever needs to be achieved. I was ready for action, always in charge. I was a businessman dressed like a woman, on a mission to be the best. And as such, I was the best possible representative to today's society that values harder, stronger, bigger. Luckily, my inner yearning started to make louder and louder voices, bringing questions with no easy answers. Who am I? Is that all there is to life? What happened to my dreams and visions I used to have as a little girl? So the journey began. and I started to melt down like a caterpillar in its cocoon. Slowly started to build wings and create new metrics, my metrics. It was a journey filled with fear and struggle. And on this journey, letting go of my beliefs what life is all about was even more important than learning something new. So slowly I started to breathe more freely and fully and live more aligned with my values. And for some time it was honeymoon, for several years. And I thought that getting out of that tunnel will bring me into forever light and suffering will end. Well, it didn't. I started to question my own metrics. Somehow it has become too tight. And so I was on the journey again, rearranging my office. So all along the way, I did what I love and know best, figuring out who we really are. And there was something to find. Something that beside my story, which can easily be your story, I'm here to share. The leading player on this journey is our ego. Ego is a meaning-making machine and a storyteller. It helps us structure our world in different ways. And how we structure this world is not only a sign of our individuality, is also a sign of development stages we were all meant to go through. These stages are universal, but we still know so little about them. Different authors on adult development, like Robert Keegan, Jane Lobinger, Suzanne Cook-Reuter, and many others, use different names and different numbers of stages, but they all address the same process. When we are born, we cannot differentiate between ourselves and the world. We live in symbiosis, the unconscious union with everything and everyone. And if we are lucky, and we work hard on our personal development, we also die in symbiosis. But this time, in a conscious union with everything and everyone. And we all spend our life somewhere in between. I will use Robert Keegan's concept, not because it's the concept, but can help us understand why still vulnerability and emotions can be seen as weakness. He starts with childhood and adolescence, and I will not skip these stages because we all bring some issues from these stages into our adult life. Some even never overcome them. At this stage, we see other people as objects, so our needs can be met. We care how other people perceive us, but only because we fear there might be some negative consequences for us. At this stage, we are focused on our own needs and our own agenda, and also some bitchy boys and girls can live in these stages. But we move forward into the socialized mind, like Keegan calls them, and we become like fully formed members of society. We breathe in the outside norms, beliefs, values, and we become one. The matrix of society we live in becomes our matrix. We put the needs of other people above ourselves. We do not lie at this stage because we feel guilty afterwards, and because lying is against the norms of society we belong to. About 60% of the population lives at this development stage. And for many people, this is also the end of the process. But it doesn't need to be that way. Because we can come to the point and start to question the outside metrics. And start to think perhaps this metric is wrong, and perhaps this metric is right. Keegan calls this stage self-altering mind, because at this stage we start to be our own authors of our life. We start to write our own metrics. It's an powerful moment in our our life because we become our own boss. We set boundaries, we live according with our values, and we feel inner power. About 35% of population lives at this stage. But through time, also this is not enough. Because we realize we are actually not the masters of our story and not the plain leader of our story. Because everything happens in co-creation. In these moments where my potential and your potential and our whole being experience brings us to the point where we can co-create something new. And which is really interesting is that these stages cannot be skipped, but they can be accelerated. And we start at different starting points and we travel with a different speed, and that's okay. We all have the opportunity, ability, and also responsibility to create this journey in a way we think is good for us and people we live and work with. Theories on adult development are new, but they are the #1 direction in leadership development in the future. And like Suzanne Kuck-Reuter says, they are not the flavor of the month. They are here to stay. And I'm sure they will go to change some metrics outside there. But the main question is not how do we flip the script. For me, the main question is who and how we want to show up for other people so they too can make it on this journey from caterpillar to butterfly. Not an easy journey. We don't end at the sunny beach with cocktails, but it's the journey worth to embark. And I know what everybody on this journey needs. Love, compassion, space for expressing and accepting emotions, and some systematic initiatives with adult development strategies. And I'm here for those people who want to travel on their journey, so they will find a way, and I believe the world will too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana. So we just continue with Alexandra. Ti je okej tale mikrofon?
Ja.
Hočeš okoli hodi?
Ne, dobro je. Okay. I'm a little bit nervous. So, my name is Alexandra Hardy. It's an absolute delight to be here in Ljubljana. Posebno, ker sem pol Slovenka. I'm half Slovenian, and Slovenia is a place very dear to my heart. It's my mother's country, and it's also where I got married to my wonderful husband. So the theme of this year's conference really got me, and it's women trustfully supporting women. Because we're great, aren't we? We're absolutely fabulous. I'm sure you'll all agree we're better at a lot of things than men, but I'm not here to debate that today. I want to share an experience that I've actually never shared before. It's extremely personal. It's quite emotional, so bear with me. And it's my experience of postpartum psychosis and postpartum depression. One of the things that struck me the most in this experience was the difficulty of sharing my negative experience of motherhood with my female community back home in Scotland. Isn't it funny that when we support each other, we're simultaneously each other's biggest critics? So where does my story start? Well, I was brought up in Edinburgh. I went to an all-girls school, and then I went on to university in Nottingham, and then I went into the working world. And I was very social, very happy, very loved a party, loved a glass of wine, still do. And generally just like loved life and embraced life. And I spent 10 years working abroad in different countries. And then I thought, you know, it's time, I want to meet someone. And around the same time, my wonderful husband, James, kind of literally fell in front of me. And it was love at first sight, and we got married. And we moved to Dubai to pursue his career. And after a few months of being married, we had a conversation. We said, well, the next step's obviously kids. So let's go for it. And, you know, we went for it. So a few months later, I found out I was pregnant, and I was absolutely delighted to be pregnant and have this human being. It was a bit weird, like this human being growing inside you, but I was delighted, and that delight continued for about 6 months. And then things started getting hard. So I started getting extremely anxious. I was very nervous. I struggled to get through my day. I was very emotional. I felt very low. And I was seeing a therapist in Dubai who said to me, Alex, you need to go and see a psychiatrist. So I went to see a psychiatrist. It was a bit hard because in the Middle East, there's a very big stigma attached to mental health. So I kind of felt like I was going underground a bit. But we found a really good British doctor who said to me, Alex, you've got antenatal depression. And I said, stop, right? My mum used to be a midwife. I'm educated, I'm intelligent, I know the risks of pregnancy. Why has no one told me that antenatal depression is a thing? And he said, well, a lot of women don't want to talk about it. You know, a lot of women, they don't talk about it. So I thought, okay, what are we going to do? He said, right, take some Prozac, which is an antidepressant, for a few months, and you'll feel better after the baby's born. Unfortunately, things only got worse. Elena was born, first of all, a couple of months later, and everybody was absolutely delighted. My mum flew in from Scotland, my dad flew in from Scotland, my sister came from Paris, my parents-in-law came from Spain. There was this huge celebration upon the birth of the arrival of this beautiful little baby girl, and everyone was so happy. Everyone except me. I didn't love her. I didn't feel connected to her. I felt ashamed of this. I didn't want to nurture her. There's this glamorized perception of women having children, and oh, I want to hold it to my breast. I didn't. And oh, it's such a beautiful thing. I'm so happy. I wasn't. And I really struggled with that, like, horrendous reality. So things continued getting worse, and I said to James, I want to go home. I don't want to be in Dubai anymore because I don't think there's enough mental health support like in the UK. I think it would be a better environment for us. And my mum's in Edinburgh, so I've got to go home to moja mame. So we moved home in April of 2016, and I went to the doctor because I was seeing things. So can you imagine seeing blood running out your kitchen sink? Or cockroaches crawling out from underneath your bed? Or spiders crawling all over the walls? It was horrendous, I can assure you. It was absolutely devastating. But again, I didn't really share it with anyone because I was so embarrassed about it. And my doctor gave me some diazepam, and he said, this will calm you down. This happens to women after they've had babies. But no one was really addressing the issue that I was becoming really, really unwell. So in May of 2016, about a month later, we went for a family walk. We've got 2 dogs. We drove outside Edinburgh to the sea, had a walk, had some good old Scottish fish and chips. And it was uneventful. It was insignificant. We came home at 4 p.m., And fast forward to 10 p.m., I'd been sectioned under the Mental Health Act, and I was in a psychiatric ward. So what happened between 4 o'clock and 10 o'clock? I'll be honest, I don't really know. It's been pieced together from flashbacks that I have and what my husband remembers and what my mum remembers. I completely lost my mind. I started self-harming on my arm with a knife. I stabbed a knife into my leg. I started smashing things in the kitchen, just pouring glasses everywhere, and there were red wine bottles being thrown against the wall, and James had to restrain me on the floor, and my mum came to help, and I have a very good relationship with my mum, but I was screaming at her, telling her to get out, and that she was a whore. And before I knew it, James had called the police and the ambulance, and I was on the floor, and I was given a sedative. And I started to calm down quite quickly. And I said, I'm really sorry. I don't know what happened. I'm going to go to the doctor. And they said, sorry, Alex, you've got to come with us. And I had to go for a mental health assessment, and then I was admitted to a mother and baby unit. And a mother and baby unit, for those of you who don't know, is, I'm not sure if it's only in the UK, it's a specialist psychiatric ward for mothers and their babies under the age of 1, for women with maternal mental health problems post-birth. And the idea is that the mother and the baby stay together so that you don't lose the bond. And I remember getting my stuff and getting ready to go into the ward, and I realized it was a locked ward, and I started freaking out because you have to be allowed in and out of the ward. And James said to me, don't worry, sweetheart, we'll go in, you'll get some medication, and we'll go out. Sorry. And you'll be out within a week. And I was there for 6 months. And I was diagnosed with postpartum psychosis. I was psychotic. I thought the devil was living in my room. I blamed my daughter for ruining my life. I wanted to drown her, so I wasn't allowed to be alone with her. I had 2 people with me 24 hours a day. It was a really horrible experience. But after 6 months, I got out. And one of the best things that I did after a couple of months off was going back to work. I have to say, I was very lucky. I went to work for a friend of mine who showed me a lot of compassion, a lot of understanding for the situation I'd been in. He gave me flexible working time, and I thrived in that environment, and I did incredibly well. 2 years later, I got pregnant again, and this time I had a lot of support, and I thought, nothing's going to happen to me. I'm on medication. It's not going to happen again. But guess what? It happened again. This time I only spent 3 months in the mother and baby unit, and I was diagnosed with severe postpartum depression. I took 2 overdoses, and I really wanted to end my life. I was in so much pain compared to psychosis, where you don't really know what's going on. Depression is very, very different. But I'm running out of time, so I managed to get out after 3 months. And if we return to the theme of women supporting women, why is it so important for women to support women? You in this room are leaders or bosses or managers or CEOs or directors, but you're women, just like me. And you're mothers, some of you, just like me. Some of you are mothers-to-be, just like I was. And it can happen to any of you. We have a shared experience as women. We have a shared understanding of each other's bodies, and we can give each other compassion, and we should be able to express it to each other how we feel about things. I hope that in sharing, I can help to strengthen people's understanding of maternal mental health, and that there is strength in sympathy and understanding. And if there is anything I'd like you to take away from my story, it's awareness of mental health and the importance of sharing it. So let's support each other trustfully. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. What I love at the Women Economic Forum is how all of these different perspectives on the topic tie in together. And I really hope we have some time at the end to bring it all together and discuss. Thank you very much for sharing such a personal experience. Okay, I don't... Yes. Yeah, please. You want this mic? Yes. Yes, thank you. But you just need to go, because we don't have the clicker. Okay, no problem. Yes.
So, Alex, you are extremely brave, and that is definitely a way. That's definitely a way to change the script, sharing what no one dares to share. So, yeah, well done. Okay, so now for something else. Intuition, futurism, and changing the script as it relates to leadership and business. And I'm going to start by telling you a story. For 17 years, and until 2012, I was a famous pianist of contemporary music in the Netherlands. And me and my colleagues, we use algorithms to change the sound of our acoustic instruments and also to trigger visuals. This is me, and these are the visuals. And policymakers at the time were doing two things consistently. Every 4 years, they would shrink the budget for the arts, and they would also redefine the type of projects that would get funding. So the arts had to be profitable, and they have to be self-resourceful at all costs. The government wasn't willing to chip in anymore. And this was actually very extreme. That was my observation. But there was something else happening. Society was changing. And society was finally buying into the character assassination of artist musicians initiated by politicians at the time. So my intuition was telling me, Sonsoles, it is time to pivot to a different industry. My intuition was telling me the arts, the system of the arts, is going to collapse. So my colleagues and the whole of the music industry, they thought that I was really out of my mind. And they were really shocked at the scenario that I was anticipating for the arts. So in 2012, I was the first and the only musician in the Netherlands to transition from the arts to business and team transformation. And today, I have a really exciting consultancy with clients all over the world. It was 5 years into my consultancy when I got a message. Sonsoles, you were right, and you were ahead of the times. Now imagine the tears pouring, because I had to do it all by my own. So this story is important for two reasons. It shows that being able to anticipate the future can be a very lonely place. And you have to follow your hunches, but you might have to do it on your own until you find a tribe. It is also important because it shows that to be intuitive, we need 3 different ingredients. You need to follow trends and developments. You need to be fiercely curious. You also need to step back so that you can connect the dots in a different way and seize new opportunities, like I did when I joined 2 business networks before actually transitioning industries. And that gave me the opportunity to see many corporations from the inside and to start seeing parallels between high-performing teams and high-performing ensembles, right? And then you also need to be someone who, can spend time on her own, be an observer, be away from the noise. So, ahead of this presentation, I did quite a bit of research and also some experiments on social media. And I can say that when it comes to intuition, there are people who rely on it. For instance, Jeff Bezos, he says, my best decisions in life and business have been made with heart and intuition. In other words, it is an asset for him. Other people reject it because they favor rational thought above intuition. According to my Facebook experiment, some people reject intuition because since they don't have it, they cannot appreciate it. And then there is a third group that misunderstands intuition, and this is a fairly big group. So on Facebook, I asked people 2 questions. What is intuition, and why is it not valued by some people? And I really got the vaguest answers. Someone even said it cannot be explained. So imagine this. You want to buy a car. You want to know the specs, the exact specs. Otherwise, you don't buy the car. So if we are here to change the script, we need to start by being able to be articulate about what intuition is. I thought it was fun, by the way, when I did this experiment, that when I asked, why do you think it's not valued by some people? That no one said, well, because nobody knows what it is, right? So, first step, I'm gonna give you 5 to change the script. So, be articulate. What is intuition? If I go back to what I said in my first slide, a very pragmatic definition would be, superior pattern recognition based on years of experience, experimentation, and observation. A more elaborate definition would be an ongoing process unconsciously blending and cultivating 4 elements simultaneously. Recent data that you have analyzed, past experiences, your future ambitions, and the possibilities. So it is actually about synthesis, quick synthesis of these 4 elements. And today, we are living in a world full of, global challenges. We have an overload of information, and the market is changing really fast. So, quick synthesis, fast change, that's a really good pair, that's a match. So today it is an asset to be intuitive. Intuitive thinking organically adds meaning to our perceptions of data, linking seemingly unrelated things, like teams and ensembles, and engaging our whole brain. And because it improves with experience, those who are not open to new experiences won't be able to develop their intuition. Authentic intuition is characterized by an intense clarity in mind, a strong feeling sense, and a working together of the left and the right brain. And because there is feeling involved, we need to cultivate our emotional intelligence so that we can actually recognize and understand our emotions so that we can take the next step. So, as you can see, intuition is not a mystery. It is not mystical. It can be explained, and therefore it can be sold, like the car. Right. Another way to change the script, tell stories, like I did, tell mine in the first slide. Another way, third one, give examples. This is Satya Nadella, the Indian CEO. He created 200 billion in market value for Microsoft in 3.5 years. And he says about himself, I am pretty intuitive. A fourth way, we need to clarify misconceptions, because rational thought is not the opposite of intuition. Intuition is grounded in knowingness and experience. It is mindful of our intellect and thereby analytics. So, what we could say is that there are different situations and also different styles of making decisions, and we can choose the most appropriate one depending on the situation we are in. And based in what I said about the whole brain, we can also say that when we use our whole brain, when we use intuition, that leads to higher leadership qualities and also to faster decision making. And bring awareness. So we're not living in an era of change, but in a change of era. We are moving from a place that was linear and looked to the past for solutions to a world that is non-linear and that needs to sense and co-create the future. Anticipatory leaders are able to reposition their organizations, right, when they sense that there is going to be a market change. So intuition today is an asset. It is not a weakness if you want to thrive in VUCA, in volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So, intuition has to do with sensing the future, what is to come. So if you want to sharpen your anticipatory skills, there are actually 4 skills that you can hone and develop. So, as a futurist, you have to follow trends and developments in society. You have to be fiercely curious, right? As a strategy, you hone an understanding of the opportunities that a market change represents. And you do that by redefining your organizational and business challenges, right? In such a way that you create new meaning for your team, for your suppliers, for your organization, for your investors, for all of the stakeholders, right? And also, you are someone who looks at the beliefs, ideas, and feelings of the people in your organization, and you align those resources so that you can build new products and services, innovations. Because in a world where nothing is certain, everything is possible. And number 4, the last one, is as a whole system thinker, yeah, you look at your team and at your product lines and at your organization, industries, markets, societies as interdependent networks, as a network of networks. And this is my last slide. This is a very short one. In such a way that we move from volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity to teams and organizations, businesses that are vibrant, uplifting, creative, and abundant.
Thank you very much for yet another perspective on the topic. Yeah, let me just find yours. This one, right? Yes. Okay. Yes. So you just press here.
Here to move forward?
Yeah. And you want this one or this one?
I'll come here, I think, if I want to move. Thank you. Oh, wrong one. How do we move back? Oh, there we are. That's me. Hello. Is that, can you hear me? I'm short, so. I'm Galia. I am, it's moving on its own. I'm the founder of Choc Chick. I have a business, a heartfelt business, and it's all about chocolate. I'll let it move. I don't know how to stop it, but we'll stop it. The next one. You know what, I'll let it go, and I'll just talk. So I am originally from Argentina. I have lived in 5 different countries throughout my life. We moved to Canada when I was 6. We then moved to Israel when I was 12. I came to England when I was 22. Then went back to England when I had to Israel when I had my daughter, my first daughter. And then my ex-husband and I moved to the US, to Florida, to set up a high-tech company. And I've lived in lots of different countries. And I've worked in, I need to move this one. I don't like that one. This is the best one. So this, I lived in lots of different countries, and I always did the right thing. You know, I was a good girl, very serious. I studied at university. I did a degree in law. I'd worked in investment banking for a bit. I found that really challenging personally. And then I got pregnant. I had a job at Goldman Sachs, and within a week of starting, I discovered I was pregnant. I was planning, but I didn't think it would be so quick. And then in 1995, I was told, you know what, we can't continue your position in the training program, but we can offer you a job as a secretary. And we'll keep you on until you have the baby, and if you want, you can come back. So I lived in a very corporate world, and when my daughter Maya was born, we then moved to Israel because my family was there, and I fell into the high-tech world, which is very masculine in Israel. I worked in a fantastic job in technology for sports and television, and I loved it, and I traveled the world. But when I became pregnant with my second daughter, again, I had challenges with the companies I was working with. And then I ended up in a different company, and my ex-husband and I set up a company in the States, and then we ended up back in the UK. And throughout my entire career, I've been, focused and driven, but very masculine. I think I discovered my feminine side when I was 40, and it took me a while. And so I was working in a really corporate job in England. I had 2 small children. I was really struggling. I had a moment when I was on the phone to a client, and my daughter was left. I was waiting for my daughter at the school gates, and I look up, and the school gates are open. There's no one there. There's no one. I'm like, my youngest is Ella. So where's Ella? Oh my God, where's Ella? And I look around, and she's hiding behind a telephone box. And I said, Ella, where were you? And she said, a post box. And then she said, but you never see me, Mummy. You never see me. So I just thought I'd hide. And I thought, that's it. I'm walking away. I can't do this anymore. My children are me, are my heart, and I need to be there for my daughter. And I walked in the next day, and I resigned. I then thought, what am I going to do? So I thought, I'm going to do what I love. I love chocolate. So this is the good slide. I love chocolate. And I grew up with a mother who made chocolate for parties, for birthdays, but unlike the film Chocolat, which I love, making chocolate is difficult. It's not that romantic and easy, so I never imagined I'd make chocolate, but I discovered raw chocolate, and raw chocolate making is really easy. It's made from the pure ingredients from the cocoa bean. It's sustainable, it's ethical, and I thought, this is it. This is what I want to do. I want to create an ethical business. So initially I created a kit to make your own raw chocolate at home with all the ingredients you need. I then went out to, I'm going to see if Ecuador and Peru to meet cocoa farmers. I wanted to do things differently. I didn't want to be hard. I wanted to be soft and conscious and care about the people I work with and the products I create. And this was nearly 11 years ago. So my business has been growing. So this is what I wanted to create. So an ethical, sustainable, no exploitation in the supply chain. I did a master's in law, and I did a master's in international criminal law, and I worked with trafficked women. And what I discovered, of course, is that there's so much exploitation of women in particular, and in the cocoa chain. So there's, cocoa from Africa, will have an element of slavery and exploitation, so I wanted to do things differently. So I only sourced from Ecuador, and I wanted to have an emotional connection. I'm just going to go quickly on this one. I want to have an emotional connection with my product. So I went out and I met the suppliers, I touched the beans, I smelled the beans, I learned everything I can about cocoa and cacao, and I also have a direct link with my supply chain. I know exactly where everything comes from. I work with cocoa collection centers, and in the collection centers, I can get a Google spreadsheet where I know this lot number came from this farmer was paid this amount of money, and that is part of the products that I sell that come to England, that I import to the UK. So this is I just thought I'd share photos of chocolate because I just love them. So these are some of the recipes. We've got lots of wonderful recipes on our website. And this is what makes me happy, and this is what I love. But this is also what makes me happy, and that's the connection. This is a connection that I have with the suppliers, with our supply chain. It's different from a corporate, when you buy a Cadbury's or a Mondelez product. I have a direct link with our supply chain, and going to Ecuador every few years is the most uplifting experience for me because I get to meet the most incredible people. So I'm going to just show the people I meet because this is Yesenia. Mi came with me to Ecuador. She filmed a trip that I did. The pride that people have in the cocoa industry in Ecuador and Peru is phenomenal. And a lot of women lead the way in cocoa production. Some cooperatives that I visited, the president of the cooperative is a woman. There are lots of plantations led by women, mothers and daughters. And Yesenia is one of these amazing women who I actually made chocolate with her in the jungle. We made it from the beans. We roasted the beans on a hot plate, and we made them in the middle of the jungle of Ecuador. And it was phenomenal. So this is Pepe, which also one of the farmers. This is William, who is another farmer that I've worked with that we visited. This is one of the cocoa collection centers. So this is where we can get the supply directly from the farmers. That's Eduardo. Oh my God, we were talking about Nietzsche and art, and it's just phenomenal the connections and the people I've met through my business, my love of chocolate. Max, he's my Choc Chico. He's the son of Max, the doctor. Do you remember him? He was so funny. I think I don't have a choc. But what also transpired is that my emotion and my connection connects with my consumers. And most of my consumers are women because we have that emotional connection with chocolate. Chocolate is sensual, it's love, it's emotion. These were kind of the women that what has always driven me in my product development and in my reason for my business as well, of what I'm looking to create. So these are my products. We are the loveliest superfood on the planet. So we bring cacao, which is an incredible superfood, high in antioxidants, magnesium. And I went through a rebranding stage, which was really focused on women. We're a brand that I didn't see any products out there that are just for women. There are got a women on the packet. So this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to create a connection with women. And I've had so many interesting comments of men saying, well, how do you expect us to buy a product that's called Choc Chick and has a picture of a woman? I was like, well, how irrelevant is that? It's a product that women love, that all people love. It's not exclusive to women. But I think it's interesting that when I did the rebrand and changed everything, the criticism and comments I've had from men about the look and feel of it. But I'm very proud of it. I love it. So I just want to say thank you. I didn't mean to plug it. That's an old slide, but but thank you for allowing me to share this. And I have to say, I want to thank me because it's thanks to her that I came to this event. And I nearly didn't come because there are some challenges in business, as you understand, and things have suddenly reached a head, and it was probably not the right time for me to leave the business and come here, but it was the right time for me. So I'm so grateful for all the women who've shared, and I feel so much more empowered now to go back, and I know what I need to. I'm following my instinct, which is really amazing. So yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me just put back the slide. Okay. So, since I don't want to keep you from lunch, and we have just a little bit of time left, I feel that this last session kind of connected the previous ones because we had very personal and moving stories in the beginning. I was crying already in the first one. and then we were talking about, well, the matrix, or how we are taught that we are supposed to be, and what we are supposed to be capable of, and how we can change that, and then just following yourself, just being yourself. And this is what you two are talking about, and I think everybody was talking about this essentially. And all of the sessions, all of the speeches, as I see them, and maybe you can share a little bit, we have 4 minutes until lunch. I see all of this as an invitation, an encouragement to really be ourselves, to dare to be ourselves, to accept the permission to be ourselves. So if anyone feels like sharing something, or if you had some insight or whatever else.
Well, I think what is very powerful is not just accepted to be yourself, but I think it's something you addressed in the earlier session as well. By brave women like you stepping up and fully showing up, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Not only do you inspire, but you give others, you are walking permissions. And there's so many people out there just waiting for that permission, for that nudge. You don't know who's watching. It can be someone in the street. It doesn't have to be a speaking event. But just the fact that you're speaking up as you, I think the ripple effect is beyond anything any of us can imagine. So thank you.
Yeah, please.
I was just going to say, I think all the stories, I think it's reminded me why I decided to come here, that as women we have so many pressures on us to be the perfect mum, to be the perfect businesswoman, to be, whatever role we have, and to be able to take that, actually say, this is what I want to do, or this is who I believe I am, or I'm going to be open and honest. And that takes it shouldn't take so much courage and bravery, because we should be able to do it. And I think hearing everybody speak has reminded me again why I choose to do what I do. And I think that's just empowering yourself, and that trust, holding that space for that trust as well. So thank you, all the speakers, because it was great.
Yeah, I feel this is the magic of the Women Economic Forum, as I experience it, to listen to these stories and to just remember that you can do it. You have permission, and actually we should do it, not must do it, but because like Yaela said, somebody will always see what you're doing, and you're inspiring at least one person, if not more. So thank you everyone for being here. Hope I see you after lunch. And thank you to all the speakers for sharing your stories, your experiences, and your energy. Thank you everyone for sharing your energy.
And thank you.